these things do not look like the same thing. That is really the subject matter of the early look note this morning. I go through the top 10 things. Guys, do not pop that up there. If they pay for the early look, they're going to get to see that, but I will allude to it. And again, it's very consistent with the process. I put it in there as slide 111 in the Macro Pro subscriber deck. But again, VIX volatility across all things is what I really care about. So again, the vol of vol, or the volatility of things. And this, if I have to say yes or no, I'll say probably yes. It was probably episodic and non-trending in both SPYs and in Qs, okay? So again, not only that, so again, failing at trend resistance for both the VXN, which is NASDAQ volatility, or the VIX. Moreover, with the medium-term downside, Jonesy, to 1393 on front month. Now, ask yourself, in as much as you'd ask yourself, as I said yesterday, if the VIX goes to 23, I'm going to get this number in the S&P 500. If it goes to 26, I could tell you what it is in the S&P 500. It's just math, right? It's my own fractal math, my own fractal calculation. Now, ask yourself, what is your portfolio going to look like if the VIX goes to 1393? Because that's not improbable, that's still probable, in as much as failing at trend resistances. So that's point number one. It's been, and again, it would be one of the many. It's been every month we get this happening. You get a spike in volatility, but again, it's non-trending. By the way, we also had that in oil. I mean, look at oil's volatility. I could have ran with this as number one. I mean, really, oil volatility has been coming down from where it peaked back in November, and we have had volatility spikes in oil, but they've been episodic and non-trending. Yeah, we got to let the kids off at the pool. We got to let them off at summer camp this morning. We got to let bond yields fall further. We got to let oil not go up yet. But what happens after that? That's the whole point about episodic and non-trending. It's episodic and non-trending. All right? That's point number one. Point number two, what is trending and should be trending? Again, you use the signal to front run the quads, and this has done a damn good job of it if I don't say so myself, and this is one of the many pivots that we did get right, which is get out of small cap exposure. I wasn't perfectly on time. I'm not perfectly on time on everything all the time. No, that's not me, and it's not you either, so get used to it. But again, last Monday I said, look, this small cap factor exposure is breaking down, and it should if the market is phase transitioning from quad 2 to quad 3 and or 4 in the case of the Russell. It's a short just like financials are in both quad 3 and in quad 4. So again, the VIX is not at 30. Russell volatility is at 30. So the equivalent of the VIX, which is the RVX, the Russell Volatility Index, is at 30. Anything north of 27.5-ish would put it to the wrong bucket. We call that the wrong volatility bucket. So again, when you invest, you think about regimes of volatility within the overlay of the quads. Now again, you couldn't have thought about that unless I taught that to you, okay? So again, maybe you did. I mean, just make up that you did. But the fact of the matter is that that's how I do it. I have 3 different regimes of volatility. You're in the wrong one for small caps. And a 10% drawdown, which is what just happened in the Russell, didn't come out of nowhere. That's 10% down in a straight line. Unlike the S&P 500, after this epic correction is down less than 3%. Think about that. And all the people just running their mouth about whatever, about this cycle and that. Come on, man. Point number 3 is Europe. One of these things does not look like the other. So you get up this morning, you're thinking, whatever you're thinking. Actually, I don't think about what I'm going to think about in the morning. I just get up and I do what markets are doing. So Japan reiterates quad 4, the quad 4 call that we made. A lot of people bought puts the minute that I made that call because we hadn't made a quad 4 call on a major country in a while. The last one we went negative on was China. So those are 2 pretty big countries, Japan and China. One is quad 3, one's quad 4. But the the real big thing is that Europe, you wake up this morning and they were going up. Stocks open up in London, not down. Stocks open up in Germany, not down. Stocks open up another 0.67% in Switzerland, which were up again last week. They haven't even really gone down. They had a down day yesterday, so I took that into my top 5 on my asset allocation if you care. Now, in my number 1 asset allocation is currently LQD. You all know that if you're paying attention and taking notes. That was up on the day. That had a good day. It wasn't just getting pumped everywhere yesterday. Switzerland is a good place to be today. So again, what is it about that? Jonesy and I walked through it again yesterday. The lack of a full-blown reopening extends the reopening trade. Got that? You can't, people talk about being, Jonesy, they talk about being intellectually honest about it. I'm not an intellectual, but I'm honest. So those are 2 things that go together for some people that aren't, okay? How do you sit there and say, I'm out of the reopening trade because it's all priced in and it's over, but now the reopening's delayed, so I can't get back in the reopening trade.
But also think about how many times this has happened since everything shut down. You and I were sitting in here. Mark went down every day. Then it starts sniffing out a reopening. Then in the summer, it's like, well, maybe there is no reopening. Then we come back to the fall. There's it's like
yeah.
But I think one thing is Neil who's been studying this data very closely, is, from the outset said COVID's going to be with us, if not forever, for a very long time, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
Like the flu.
Yeah. It's a lot. We can see from the UK data, it's a lot more benign when you have a very vaccinated population, less hospitalizations, less deaths, but it's not going away. So that's the reality of it.